And we're up. This is Up Close and
Hey,
Personal with Malcolm Berman and my special guest host, Vito. Pronounce your last
Dan
name.
D'Ambrosio.
D'Ambrosia. It's sort of like
D'Ambrosio.
it's sort of like Ambrosio.
Yes, exactly. Food of the gods.
Food of the is that's the
Well, that's
translation
what
in Italian?
the ambrosia salad is food of the gods. But no, I
Food of
just
the gods. Okay, and you're a food of the gods, huh?
well, I'll leave that for the taster. So,
Tell us a little of your background. I'm going to get back into when you first got here, because I pictured
well,
I pictured Vito Corleone landing in the Lower East Side. But tell us your story. You
very
came from
close to
Italy
that,
at 10.
actually. Italy, exactly. I was born in Italy, southern Italy, and my parents, my mother had her oldest sister living in a suburb of Chicago. She was our sponsor, and my dad worked actually for Americans after the war. He worked for an American oil company, and he loved them, and they loved him, and he always felt like, I would love to go to America. And they applied for a visa, and it was originally intended to be in the summer so that I was in school. I was in the fifth grade, and it unfortunately happened in December. So it was delayed, but we finally got the visa, and we got on a ship because my parents didn't think an airplane could carry all their luggage. They had never been on an airplane before. It was in the late 60s anyway. So we arrived, we crossed the Atlantic in the middle of winter, which is a fun
Wow.
thing to do once. That's about it. And we landed in New York Harbor. I'll never forget it. It was the first time I saw snow. It must have been dawn, because I think we all just kind of got up from our cabins and realized we were here. And I remember running to the front of the deck and seeing through the glass doors the snow on the deck, and seeing the Statue of Liberty. I remember it being lit up in different colors. That's I don't know if that's memory that's been romanticized in my mind, or if that's what actually happened. But I do remember being the first one going, what are we doing? I opened the sliding door and I dove into the snow because I wanted to experience it. So from there, we went to Chicago, where my aunt was living. And I grew up in a suburb of Chicago.
Huh? When you came to this country, were you speaking English, or you was all
Not
Italian?
a word except okay. It was and then I learned push and pull, because that was printed on the doors on the ocean liner,
Huh?
which was beautiful. Leonardo, not the Leonardo, is the oh man, I'm blanking out on it right now. But
Well, that's what happens when you get to be our age. You
yes,
blink out.
exactly, something to look forward to. Yeah. Anyway, no, I had and a wonderful thing happened. Actually, I went to a Catholic school, and my aunt, who had she had raised children and grandchildren. Her grandchildren went to this school. So they took me in. I didn't understand a word of English. And they basically made a deal with the principal that I would complete my fifth grade without being graded, and give me that time as an opportunity to learn the language,
Very
and
good.
then repeat fifth grade, which I wasn't told. So it was kind of a shock to me at the end of that semester, when I realized that I was going to be that my class was going on to sixth grade and I was going to stay. That was a little bit, but it worked because I was very motivated, being in a world where I didn't understand anyone, and fifth grade can be cruel. And within 6 months I learned the language, and I made it a point to lose an accent. And fortunately, I was at an age where I think that was possible. So it took me about a year to lose any kind of an accent. I didn't want to sound like someone who immigrated here. So
Who came off the boat? What was your full name?
yeah,
Victorio?
no, Vito is my grandfather's name, and
Huh?
that's a tradition. That was my father's father, who also actually came to the U.S. in the early teens and worked all around the country, which I was surprised to find out that he was actually in California before I was.
Huh?
But yeah, during the 1911 to 14, something like that. And he worked and did well, and ended up going back to Italy. But yeah, yeah.
Now, as I was
Mhm.
thinking, I was looking. You're a face that I
Mhm.
see you on TV, and I
Lots
say,
of posters,
and,
mostly.
no, and I say, I know him.
Ah,
It's that type of thing, but I don't know your name. There are a lot
yes,
of actors that you see on TV, different roles and their various
sure.
shows, and say, "Hey, yeah, he looks familiar," and you try to bite your tongue to see who he is. You've when I saw your resume, you've appeared in dozens of shows as
Mhm.
characters.
Very grateful, very lucky, and yeah. Oh, I started out doing theater in Chicago. I was going
Oh,
to say, very, very lucky that when I went to high school, basically, is sort of getting back to how I got into it. Is I was searching just like everybody else. What am I going to do? Who am I? Blah blah blah. And I met a friend, Paul Colucci, and he happened to be working
Colucci.
backstage. Paul Colucci, yes, he happened to be working backstage, and he said, "Come by and visit." So I walked backstage, and they were rehearsing a musical called Kismet, and they had a harem, which kind of caught my eye. It
Yeah,
was a
right.
co-production from Sister School, so it was the prettiest girls in both schools were in the harem.
That was
So,
Kiss Me Kate, right? The
Kismet, actually,
no, Kismet was a play, but the
Arabian
movie was
Nights,
Kiss Me Kate.
totally different story.
No, really?
Kiss Me Kate was based on Shakespeare, Taming of the Shrew.
Yeah.
Kismet is more of an Arabian Nights.
Oh,
And there's some famous songs, Take My Hand, I'm a Stranger in
yeah.
Paradise, that kind of thing. But anyway, I walked backstage, and after seeing what was going on, and watching a rehearsal, I saw people, two actors, standing in the wings and getting ready, and then going on, and then performing and singing. And I was like, oh my God, this is acting. They're acting. So I became interested, and my friend Paul was more of in the tech department, and I was blown away. I think I was a sophomore in high school, and he was literally given blueprints of the set, raw materials, uh, power tools, and said, "Here, build this." And I was like, "Do you need help?" So I kind of jumped in and into the theater that way, and I was constantly watching rehearsal and realizing that I'd love to do that. I'd like to give that a try, which kind of scared my tech friends. They were like, "What? You want to do what?" But I auditioned for the next play, which happened to be a contest play, which was very instrumental in my learning and development. We competed just like athletes do, basically, and
Mhm.
we, starting that year, our school of the two was the first time I think either school had gone to the state level, and then we every year after that we reached state level, and it was just amazing. So it really started out as a passion. It was fun, didn't think anything else, but this is a wonderful family. Everybody, I mean, the things I learned in high school, very fortunate to have very dedicated and learned teachers who knew techniques and who understood the craft, and made it fun, so never thought of it anything else other than that. But it was definitely made me feel like I was part of a family, and we were competing, and I think competing and succeeding also kind of helped. And
Yeah.
anyway, from there.
When did you decide that you wanted this as a profession and that you're gonna?
Good question, because my parents were not very supportive, even though I was like doing all the lead roles in high school. And then, so when I went to college, they were like, "We're not going to pay for college if you do any acting. So, forget it." So
What school was this?
it was a junior college, actually, Morton College in Cicero, Illinois.
Cicero.
Uh,
Yeah, but perfect for the Italians.
well, yeah,
You,
there's
you,
a
you
definitely.
say Cicero, I think of Al Capone. I don't know why.
Yes, well, because he lived there.
Yeah, big association with it.
Yes, yes, very true. Um, so the first semester I did business, and I realized I can't do this. I was bored out of my mind, and people started coming up to me in the hallway going, "Hey, we're doing this play." And then I think they had a guest director who was a professional, and they said, "So and so is going to be directing the next play. You got to come." So I went. I broke down, and I went and auditioned and got a part, and then I just kind of dove back into it. And it was at that point, it was like my parents weren't supportive of me pursuing it, but I realized this is what I love to do, and so a college counselor told me about Columbia College, which was sort of an open door school, easy to get into. But it was a private institution, and it was very highly regarded in the arts. They had actually a great dance department, film department, journalism they were excellent at. And they had a theater department that was sort of up and coming. And I was very lucky. I transferred there right before a man named Sheldon Patinkin took over. He happens to be Mandy Patinkin's cousin, but he was incredible. We used to call him the godfather of Chicago theater because he was around at University of Chicago when Second City began. So he was part of the origin of all that. And he knew everyone in theater, and he brought in, the other reason I like Columbia College is that the teachers who taught there all had to work in the field that they taught. So it was less academia and much more practical. And because of that, I got to meet the movers and shakers in Chicago theater right at an incredible time when things were just starting to blossom and develop. I met the founders of Steppenwolf Theater, for instance, Gary Sinise, Jeff Perry, Terry Kinney. They started casting me in plays. We did Streamers, was one of the first productions I did. Terry Kinney directed, which was a huge success because it combined professionals like Dennis Farina and Greg Williams, who was a teacher and an amazing talent in the school, and the rest were students. But it actually caught the attention of a producer in town and decided he asked permission from the college to move the show to a professional theater. So while I was in college, I started working outside in theater and got to know really the founders of Steppenwolf. They were a couple of years older than me, but there was a simpatico. I really felt like at home with them, and they made me feel at home. So I started working at Steppenwolf for almost 5 years, starting when I was still in college and then continuing on after that. And then from there, it was pretty easy to break into TV because there wasn't much going on in Chicago at that time. There were maybe one. I don't think there was ever more than one TV series filming in town, but somebody had written an article about how you should write the casting director and tell them about yourself, as in a personal way, not talking about credits. Like, this is my experience. This is the job I do. I have experience with people, blah, blah, blah. So I did that I totally on a whim, and it got me in for an audition for Lady Blue, I think it was, playing a police officer, and I booked it. And people around me, the other professional actors, were like, "You did what?" But so it started that way, and I continued. Theater is my first love, and definitely my passion, and it led to TV and film. And fortunately, there were opportunities in Chicago. There was a lot of TV sort of off and on. It's not like it is today. Today, I'm told there's multiple TV shows, 8, 9, maybe 12 series shooting there right now. And occasionally you get films that come through. And I lucked out. I was auditioning. I was told that Brian De Palma was coming in and they were looking for tall Italians. And I'm 6'1", and which is like their target height. So I think on the recommendation of Steppenwolf and maybe some other theaters and agents, I got an audition to meet Lynn Stallmaster, who is a tremendous casting director.
Yeah, I've heard of her.
Him.
Yeah. I always thought it was a her.
I know. Until you meet him, you don't know. Yeah. But I have to tell you, I was impressed as an actor reading opposite him. I thought, this guy's good as an actor, and it's like, so I read for The Untouchables, and I would go in, I auditioned for like a month, and I would go in and I would have phrases. I would have like partial sentences, and he would have paragraphs to read opposite me, but each time he would be taping me. And it was just the right thing at the right time. And and after a number of auditions, I get to meet Brian De Palma, who was very quiet and really didn't say much of anything. He just sat there, videotaped, and then he was taking notes while I was reading, and I just did the thing. And then I kept getting called back, and then I met the last callback. I think they had me read the scene, my final scene, what became my final scene, which is the train station with the baby buggy going down the steps.
Yeah. With Andy Garcia.
With Andy Garcia and Kevin and me basically I was taking the bookkeeper out of town to get him out of the subpoena. And then when all my guys get killed, I take the bookkeeper hostage as the last resort. And then Andy Garcia does what he does best. But it was an adventure, and it was amazing because I got to work with all my heroes, Sean Connery. We had a scene together. I broke into his apartment with a switchblade, and that famous line, which I maybe won't repeat, but uh, and basically to lure him out, and he gets killed. It was the first time he got blood packs on him. You can imagine, as James Bond, he never
I
got
don't,
shot at.
did you ever get to speak your, the Italian that you know?
I did there was a small scene, well, actually the baseball bat scene. I don't know if you remember the movie, but there's a scene where De Niro's walking around the table and we're all dressed up in tuxedos, and one of the guys did something wrong, and he's walking around and he's using the analogy of a baseball team. When we're on the field, we're all together. We're that as a teamwork. So De Palma had me say something in Italian, like when De Niro asked a question, I would respond in Italian because it was just us, kind of a thing. But otherwise,
stop the camera. You're not pronouncing it correctly.
Yeah, almost. No, but yeah. Anyway, it was a blast. I mean, I got to work with De Niro. I was actually the first person that De Palma introduced De Niro to on the set.
Yeah.
There's a lot of history I could tell you about that movie. It was just we started shooting with Bob Hoskins on the record playing Al Capone. Even though they knew they wanted De Niro to play Capone, De Niro wanted to put on weight, and he was asking for an amount of money that wasn't in the budget. So in order to commence filming, Paramount wouldn't let them start unless they had, a name associated with so the story goes that basically Bob Hoskins got paid to not work, but he was on the roster.
Did he do Capone in an English accent?
He's an amazing actor. I think he would have done. Yeah. Well, you could have lost the accent. There's so many British actors, I'm jealous, that are passing off as Americans. It's amazing.
Oh, yeah.
Even nowadays,
And House, that guy is amazing.
Yes, right. And it's like you hear him in his native tongue, and you're like, "What? Wait a minute!
Right? Who's he?
Where did that come from?" Yeah, I did an episode of a show called Euphoria on HBO, and the lead guy who's playing this total asshole, but wonderful actor. And we're doing the scene. We're going back and forth. I'm interrogating him, and he's giving me his story. And after a couple hours, we sort of loosen up, and then he starts asking me, "Oh, so you do theater?" And I was like, "Yeah, I love." He goes, "Yeah." He got excited. And after a break, all of a sudden he lets his American accent down and he starts talking. He's from Australia. And I'm like, "What?" And the guy playing his father is like, "Yep, he's."
I've always found these guys amazing. Have you ever done a show in accent?
I've done plays in accents, but I don't think I've ever done a on camera role in accent, but that I would love to do that. And I take that back. I've done Italian accents, yes. But yeah.
Well, that's for doing Italian accents for you to to eat antipasto or lasagna. It's natural.
I hate to differ with you, but that is a story in itself. I was really, I think, to be totally honest, I think I was embarrassed by the Italian accent because I was surrounded by relatives and because of the experience I had assimilating, I didn't want anything to do with an Italian accent. So when it came time to put one on for a role, I was at a loss. I was, and I don't know if it's an emotional thing or whatever, but I had to literally go back and study. And I found this wonderful dialect coach on tape, David Allen Stern. I have to give him a lot of credit. He's got a whole series of accents, and I had to learn to do an Italian accent by, from scratch. And fortunately, it helped because it was he has a wonderful way of breaking things down technically, step by step, so that you build on it. And very grateful to him, and it worked. Ended up doing a play like that also, but yeah, it's not as easy as it. I did that in a class once. I'll never forget. And the teacher looked at me like, "Come on, you're struggling doing it." And I'm like, "Yeah."
You should say your original name was Mars Cone.
Oh, there you go. Or Dombrowskiewicz.
Yeah, you played that something in Middle Eastern. I saw you recently over in NCIS.
Yeah, well, it was kind of vague. I wasn't playing any specific accent or ethnicity, but the name could be Italian, could be
Yeah.
Latino, wasn't sure, but Tony Zaccato. And yeah, that was a huge fun. That was
How did you get from Chicago? How did you move to Los Angeles? I met you in Los Angeles. Your kids were in the soccer team.
correct. Yes, that was great. I basically I'd done a lot of theater in Chicago, done a couple of TV shows, pretty much every TV show that came in, and then after landing the Untouchables, which I worked on for like 8 weeks, um, and I just felt ready to move. And I always wanted to go to New York, but at that time there weren't many opportunities. In fact, most production, TV and film production had shuttered and went back to the West Coast, I guess, and Vancouver. And in theater, there weren't really a lot of straight plays. There were mostly musicals. And even though I'd done musicals in college, that I didn't feel like that was my forte. So,
Yeah, I can ask you to get up and sing and dance.
oh, you can, but you might regret it. I'm great in the shower. I've actually been told I have a great voice, but I'm not trained. And I have to tell you, having been in musicals, I was at, for instance, the Goodman Theater got a grant to create a new American musical. I think it was 1990 or so. And I happened to be back in Chicago, got cast as one of the heavies who did not sing. It was I was one of the only people in the show who did not have a song. Thank God. But so there is that. But yeah, and the reason I bring that up is because we had amazing talent, partly from New York. Some of the leads were cast in New York. God, Marin Maisie, who unfortunately passed away, but she was an amazing singer and actress and dancer. And that's the first person that comes to mind. But we had this incredible talent, and you watch people like that who've trained all their lives to sing and dance, and you go, okay, I am not worthy. Leave that to the professionals. But if somebody wants to cast me in a musical, they were doing Bullets Over Broadway. I don't know if you remember that. Originally, it was a movie with John Cusack and Chaz Palminteri. They did a stage version of it on Broadway, ran on Broadway for a little while.
Yeah, I can't remember. I know I've seen it.
It's a wonderful story. It's a Woody Allen film. And
that's it. Okay, that's what I thought.
He actually wrote the script for the Broadway show. And I think Vincent Pastore got Big Pussy, if you remember him from The Sopranos.
Oh, yeah.
He got cast as the gangster, the main gangster who has the girlfriend.
You could have made a fortune in continuing on, a stereotypical Italian gangster.
Yeah, I kind of wanted to avoid that. And then The Sopranos happens, right? And it's like, oh man, just when I thought I could get away. No.
Then of course the whole thing with The Godfather.
Well, yeah, that was before. That was way before, actually. That was amazing. That's one.
You're a kid in comparison to me, so.
Thank you. Well, but not at heart.
What happened when you said you relocated to New York from Chicago after?
Actually, I wanted to go to New York, and I had every desire to do that, but because the work was limited, the opportunities were limited in New York at that time, I ended up moving to LA. And boy, it was an amazing time. I wanted to capitalize on the opening of the Untouchables, which was opening in June. So I moved out in February and got an agent who was originally from Chicago. And I tell you, I had never had so many auditions. And it was a combination of, when you've got a project like that that's about to open, there's a lot of energy, there's a lot of interest. But also, having Steppenwolf on the resume, being a theater actor. And then the other event that was going on, there was a threat of a writer's strike. So suddenly, and it was, spring was traditionally pilot season where television pilots are cast. So usually there's a flurry of activity, but because of the threat of the strike, it just exploded. I had like sometimes 3 auditions in one day. And I swear I had auditions almost 5 days a week. it was really too much. But at that age, I was like gung-ho, and I was like, yes, I'm going to tackle it all. But there's no way that you can prepare properly for 3 different projects and then have 2 more, 3 more the next day. But it was an exciting time to be in LA, and it's worked out.
Around what year was that?
You really want to know? No, 87. That was February of
okay.
87 when we shot The Untouchables in 86, and so in 87, they used. I actually benefited because Robert De Niro at that time was not doing any publicity. There was a time when he did not appear on talk shows and did not do interviews at all, and so they had the 4 Untouchables, and then they had Frank Nitti, who was played by Billy Drago, R.I.P., and myself. So it's sort of identifiable antagonists. So we did a photo shoot for Harper's Bazaar. We ended up being in the local paper. So there was a little bit of publicity that was created by that. De Niro's not available. In fact, before the opening, I'll never forget this. He appeared. He went on with Brian De Palma. They appeared on Gene Shalit's show. I don't know if you remember the guy with the big mustache. Yeah. And it was like people were like shocked. He's doing an interview. What? De Niro is, So and it was great. It was great to meet him. It was an honor, and I was very fortunate that I was around a lot, so I got to watch. And when the days I wasn't working, I would go to the set and sort of be in the background because this is an icon, a hero, and
you were a student. You were a student, actually.
Absolutely, still am. Hope to never lose that.
I know the thing that I know the latest. We have to skip a lot of years. From what do you realize we've been talking almost 27 minutes?
No.
Yeah. So I might have to have you come back if you have the time, because I want to go back from
happy to.
LA, the shows that you did, the personalities that you met.
Sure, I'd be happy to.
And again, what I always ask is, what do you want to be when you grow up? That's my. That's his favorite. The one from the actor studio. And what is your favorite curse word? No, my thing is, what do you want to be when you grow up? Because I haven't grown up yet. It seems like each about 5-6 years, I have another project that I do that takes me in another area, like this Zoom casting now, which I've been developing for me about 7 months, 6-7 months, and I enjoy it.
Well, that's the key, my friend. Absolutely. Yeah. Go ahead.
Well, you can appreciate it. I've always done things behind the camera, so to speak, when the radio station, in the studio, in the control room. This is the first time I've been in front of the camera.
Wow. And you're a natural.
No,
you are.
I have an ego.
Oh, okay.
I like telling people, hey, you can see me on. But anyway. And it also tells me a lot of my experience, especially in theater, because for some reason, I love theater. I was raised in New York. And I was first exposed to Broadway and the legitimate theater and the off-Broadway, which I loved, where it was like the actors actor equity waiver, where it's 99 seats and less.
Okay.
Where you were right on top of the stage to see the actors perform.
Right. And that's some of the best work that it actually spawned, so many plays and stories. It is wonderful. Yeah.
And I'm always amazed. I had a friend of mine, a guy named Ron Silver, who was an actor.
Okay. Wonderful actor.
And Ronnie, I was living in New York, and too bad, he passed too early.
Right.
But I remember going to one of his Broadway plays, and I was backstage talking to him. And he was talking to Ryan talking. He said, okay, you have to leave now, about a half hour, 45. I have to prepare for the role. And then when he got on stage, he was something completely different.
Isn't that amazing? That's
an actor. I think I told you that when I saw you on NCIS. I almost didn't recognize you.
You did. Thank you. That's a very nice compliment.
You're a different persona.
I hope so. Thank you.
Yeah.
I don't kill people, really. In real life, I don't. I just...
Well, I have some stories. When I was a kid, I lived in the area of Coney Island, and you were Jewish or Italian. There was no in between.
Right.
And if you were Italian, you were Sicilian.
Okay.
I thought all Italians looked like Dean Martin. You know,
Oh,
dark
yeah, yeah,
hair,
yeah.
dark eyes, like swarthy. I never knew up in Rome there were blondes and blue
Yeah.
eyes.
I have a cousin who was blonde and blue-eyed. She was, yeah, look, yeah. We had a lot of visitors in Italy invading and, and occupying. So
That's what I
yeah,
heard.
yeah, yeah. The
But
Finns.
basically, the Italian family and the Jewish family was the same, which I always tell on my shows. It's sort of like the father went to work, the mother stayed
Mhm.
home raising the kids.
Yes.
And when she was aggravated with you as a kid, she said, "Wait till your father comes home." And your father would come home and say, "What are you bugging me up with this? I had a hard day in the office."
I love it. That sounds exactly.
Eh,
Yeah, yeah.
And of course, in my
Uh,
neighborhood, the tough kids became, ran after the mafia. There was a lot of, in Coney Island was next to Borough Park or I forget the area, but that was where all the big
Not
time
Red
mafia
Hook.
chiefs lived.
Okay.
Right.
Oh, nice.
As a matter of fact, I did a term paper which was saying another show about Murder
Mhm.
Incorporated,
Wow.
which most people
That's
didn't know was actually a Jewish organization.
okay. Yeah.
The the head leader was this guy Louis Lepke,
Yes, I've heard of him and
yeah,
read about him. Yeah.
and
Meyer Lansky, of course. I
well,
don't know if
Meyer
you...
Lansky was part of the regular mafia, and
Okay.
Bugsy Siegel,
And
Benny
Bugsy.
Siegel.
Right, 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 right.
We
Wow.
can create a
Wow.
whole new role for you.
Hey,
Yeah, we'll make you
I'm
Jewish because you're
available.
not necessarily Italian. We'll
Okay.
make you the Jewish mafia. But they had in the mafia, one of the head guys was Shalom Bernstein.
Wow.
Can you imagine having a hitman by the name of Shalom?
This could be a sitcom.
Yeah,
I don't know.
and Kid Twist was the one who originally turned them all in. Was a guy named A.B.
Ah,
Relis. He was the one, the famous, who jumped off the Jewish old age home in Brooklyn, the Half Moon Hotel in Coney
wow.
Island,
Did
because
not know that.
they had three cops guarding him, and
Okay.
supposedly he tried to escape. Of course, he was, I think, on the 11th floor
Oh boy.
of the hotel, and he sort of
Right.
escaped through the window.
Yikes.
And he
Right.
did. But anyway, I'd like to.
Great stories. Yeah.
Actually, what we have to do is get you back. I want to
Okay.
find out. Now we have you in New York, in Los Angeles,
Mm-hmm.
right after you did the movie
Untouchables?
with Robert De Niro,
Right.
The Untouchables. And now I want to see where your career is going
Okay.
and what else. And when you got married and had the kids. Because
Ah,
our original connection, as I say, our children played
right.
soccer together.
AYSO. Love that.
AYSO. I tell you the truth, I
Great
miss
time.
those days. That was fun.
I'm not sure I do, but definitely it was fun.
Yeah.
Definitely it was fun.
Because
Yeah.
I still
And it was-
live across the street, the park. Well, I see you
Oh
running
my
in the park there.
God. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But I still live there,
Absolutely.
so occasionally I'll see
Wow.
the parents of the soccer league, of the little league.
Okay.
But anyway, that's going off your acting
No.
career.
No.
But
No
we
problem.
shall have you back sometime next month if that's okay with you, if you're not out of
Absolutely.
town doing something.
Absolutely. I'm be going out of town at the end of this month, but I should be back early first week in March. So,
Okay, well, we'll talk and we'll set you up, because then I want to take you on
okay.
to the rest of your career and find out the actors that you liked and see if you have any dirt on anybody that you can tell without being too vicious.
I don't know. Well, I'll think about that. It was a pleasure, Malcolm. Thank you for having
Thanks.
me.
And I will speak to you soon.
All right. Take
Say
care.
goodbye to everybody. Say goodbye to your relatives in Italy. In Italian.
Ciao. Arrivederci.
Arrivederci. Take it easy. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.